So, let me just stick.
All right.
Okay. Cameras on ready?
Yep. Yep.
All right, everybody ready to go?
Yep.
All right. Already into the Tuesday practice of prep for Georgia State now this week. You know, everybody I think knows my feelings on going back previously, so I'll just go ahead and say a couple things. The previous game, really good win for the Georgia Tech family, for our fan base, you know, for everyone in the school, you know, and that's what we, you know, it's last week's, it's another game, it's another opponent, but it was on a stage that allowed Georgia Tech to get a lot of exposure. A lot of people to find out things they might not have known about Georgia Tech. And I'm not just saying Georgia Tech football, I'm saying Georgia Tech in general. So that was a great opportunity for our entire school and for the fan base. But that game's over. We got a new challenge this week. Anytime that you create opportunity for yourself like that, you create new challenges. And the challenge this week is it's really the same. It's preparing the right way. And look, that doesn't mean that we didn't enjoy a win. So let's don't talk about that. We did. You know, I want those guys to enjoy things, but when we got back here on Sunday at 3:09, it was 24 hours, and it was time to get to work. So, the being able to have a game, move on to the next game. We've said it before. There's really three phases right now in our growth as a team. You know, learning how not to lose, learning how to win, and now learning how to win consistently. You know, the challenge we have this week, I told the team this on Sunday afternoon, the challenge would have been a lot easier had we lost the game on Saturday night. Been a lot easier. But that's not the way we want it. That's not what we want to do. Right? We want to stay in the moment, you know, work day to day, and live out the week, live out the month, live out the year, hopefully the same way you live out a game. And that's one play at a time, next play mentality. And, you know, success and failure, you know, I said this after the game, that success and failure both can be distractions if you let them be distractions. All right? That's part of the mental makeup that's got to go into being a really good football player and a really good football team. Right? And we're not there yet. We've got to continue to strive every day to get to that point. So really, I told him, I said, you know, whatever the mindset is, it's got to be, you know, nothing else matters, get better. And so it doesn't matter, get better is really our thing this week, and we got to have to show individual improvement. There's a lot of mistakes that have to be corrected. There's a lot of things that we did well, but there's a lot of things that didn't go well. And are you gonna change the way you coach a game off of 6 feet, off maybe 6 inches? I mean, talk about 6 feet to the left, you know, 6 inches on a ball on the ground from recovering it. So, you know, you can't change an entire mindset based on, you know, those outcomes. So, you know, I know you're probably going to ask about momentum. Momentum is not created by a win. Momentum does not carry over. I said at the beginning of the season, momentum does not carry from last year to this year. Momentum's created only one way, and that's how we go out and we practice and we prepare and we work when we're given the opportunity to be together and work. So, you know, I talked to the team after practice again, and you know, all of our goals for this season are in front of us, and really equated it to when you're driving. You know, there's a reason the windshield's a lot bigger than the rearview mirror. I mean, if you get distracted and you're looking in the rearview mirror the whole time, right, you're going to have a wreck. And I've been in a wreck. We've been in a wreck before, and that's why we've got to keep our focus and our attention looking forward. That's where our goals are. That's where our opportunities are, and that's where we have to stay right now, is being able to prepare ourselves to be able to move forward. Yesterday doesn't do anything for today. So, you know, we've got a great opportunity this week to play a school right down the road. Right? You know, we start out the season with goals of, you know, winning a state championship and winning a conference championship. Right? So you talk about our goals are right in front of us. I think it's a great opportunity for two schools to play each other that are close, that have a lot of guys that know each other, coaches and players. So I think it's going to be a really good environment on Saturday night. Really encourage everyone to come out. We really need the fan support. The students, I mean, you know, the second half of the season last year, as the students came more and more to the games, I mean, what an electric atmosphere it was, and we're expecting the same thing on Saturday night. So with that, open up with any questions.
Okay, questions? Coach?
Trey Cooley got banged up in the game, and Horace.
The whole team's banged up.
And Horace, we saw his cast at the game. Obviously, he was dressed. Just kind of where are those guys at, and are you hopeful to get them back this week?
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for a lot of things. I'm hopeful for a brand new Ferrari to show up in that parking lot. Or I'm hopeful for the building to be completed tomorrow. But I mean, live in hope and you die in. I won't say the rest. We're banged up. It's a physical football game, right? We have a physical football team, right? And that's going to happen week in and week out. A lot of guys that weren't able to go today, so hopefully we get them back tomorrow. And hopefully by Thursday I can address a little bit more where we're at as a team as far as injuries go. Hoping we get them all back, but it's highly unlikely we will. So we've got to prepare everybody. The reason we practice the way we do is to be able to have the 2s and 3s get work. Guys that are able to play on Saturday will play, but we're not going to force somebody back sooner than they can be. I mean, we're banged up now. A lot of guys that played and finished that football game are kind of walking wounded right now. So, but there's a lot of time between now and Saturday night.
Chad.
You take us in the inside the left tackle position battle in the preseason and how it's looking like, moving forward.
What was it, 60-40, I think, in the game the other night, something like that. I think they both did some things really well. I think they both did things they've had to work on. And, to be able to get a game work together like that, 60-40, it's hard to do at every position, but that's we've been practicing that way for the majority of camp. Corey got banged up early on in camp. I think Jordan Brown, I don't want to say quietly because he is quiet. He doesn't hardly say a word. So, but I thought he played in the game the same way he's practiced. He just steady Eddie now. I mean, just consistent. A lot of things we got to get better at, and the work started on that on Sunday night.
So is that a rotation that will continue, do you think, or you'd rather have one consistently?
I'd rather have 10 guys play, but we're not going to. This isn't the YMCA either. We're going to play guys that have earned the opportunity and they deserve to play, and both those guys deserve to play.
Jordan Williams has played a lot of snaps since he's been at Georgia Tech. Where is he now in his?
In the locker room.
Thank you.
Sorry, Rod, I couldn't hold it off.
No problem. How far has he come since he got on the
Gainesville?
field as a freshman?
Oh my gosh! I mean, playing offensive line as a true freshman is second only to really quarterback. It's hard, and it's not necessarily the physical ability or the DNA, the God-given traits that you have. It's the technique, it's the experience, it's the amount of live reps that you can get. But Jordan he's played a lot of football. I don't know exactly how many games, but I would guess it's in the 50s. That Jordan's played in. But whether it's 50 games or 5 games or been here for 5 days, I mean he's held to the same standard as everybody else. We coach him just the same way as everyone else. He's got a lot of things he has to get better at. He was the ones I called out in the team meeting on Sunday as far as and asked him to stand up in front of the team and said what was the one thing that individually he was going to work on, had to improve on this week. Look, if everybody on this team can make a commitment, what my challenge was to him, to get better at one thing. I mean, we all hear 100 things during the day that we need to improve on and be better at. And in football, as a player, you hear 6, 8, 10. All of a sudden now it's compounded into 20, 25 things. But if everybody on our football team can take one thing that they have to get better at, right? As a team, we've got to improve in a lot of things: offense, defense, special teams. But if every player can get better at one thing, I'm talking about scout team players. I'm talking about starters. I'm talking about everyone. That's 120 players on the team that have improved over the course of a week. Right? If you do that week in and week out for 12 weeks of a season, it exponentially becomes a better football team.
When we talked to Haynes on Sunday when you guys got back here, he was already talking about Georgia State and moving forward. You talked about mindset in your opening statements. How much of that are you finding that the guys already have that? How many of, and versus maybe having to teach that to the guys or having them learn it about that approach?
I'd be curious to ask y'all, how many of y'all have that mindset truly to live in the moment, to be where your feet are, to not worry about the things that might come in the future, the things that have already taken place in the past that you can't change. That is, human nature does not want us to do that. All right, well, that's why there's anxiety, that's why there's stress, that's why there's pressure. That's why and it's just multiplied by the world that we live in nowadays. I mean, you can't do anything without it being all over, Twitter and all that. So it's not even Twitter anymore. So that just adds to the anxiety and the stress these kids have. How do we do it? No different than bench press, no different than running a 40, no different than, technique on the field. I mean, it's thousands and thousands. This isn't something that we say once a week. This isn't something that I talk about once a month or, it's hearsay. This is a way of life. It is truly a way of living your life. And if I don't live that way, I'm nothing more than a hypocrite to these kids and these coaches. Things I say, I have to live and walk it the same way. And I truly do. Do I struggle with it? Yeah, everybody does. But you have to constantly remind yourself, you can do nothing about what's going to happen tomorrow. Right? You can't do anything about what's already happened. You think about it, these kids, I mean, between, girlfriends and school and are they going to play, are they not going to play, the external factors. I mean, all of those things. We talk about focus. Well, focus is the ability to eliminate external distractions, right? You can have all these cool things to say, but truly in my every day, every part of my life, and I think majority, not all of our coaches live that way, right? And it takes a while. It takes a long time. And as soon as you think you've accomplished something, right, you better work even harder at it, because you don't stay the same. No one does. You're either getting better or worse.
This is obviously a Super Bowl for Georgia State, and
It is for us. It is for us too, Kelly.
and
It's the next game.
you guys have had some letdowns in the past in these types of games, coming off an emotional win. And
Yeah, that's why the windshield's a lot bigger than the rear view.
so,
I'm not talking about the past.
no, and I get that, but just, do you feel like the focus is there? Was it there today? How are you sensing your team?
Let's make sure we show up at 8 o'clock on Saturday night. I think the team, that is a distraction. So, look, no one in this building is blind to what's happened in the past. No one, right? The focus has to be on what we have to do instead of what we aren't going to do. We can't do this. We're not going to do this. Well, how are you improving anybody? How are you getting people to step forward and make that step forward? When I tell these guys all the time that they have ownership in this team, that I trust them, okay, how can you say that you trust someone and you've given them responsibility, and they've had now since July 24th up until this moment right now to prove that to you every single day, and then all of a sudden you change script and you don't trust them on something, right? This isn't something that happens and changes. This is a mindset that started on January 4th that works through the whole season. No different than will the last game of the season. Right? This is the biggest game of the year. Hands down, make no bones about it. All right? And practice indicated that. Right? I told you we're banged up, we're hurt. Other guys got to step up, they got to play. Okay? Next man up. So what, now what?
Brent, going program to program in your career, I mean, you've talked individually about it's human nature to look back or, panic. But when it comes to a program, you've been at a lot of places. How challenging is it for an entire program to buy into that model of let's not let it affect us, let's move forward as a whole?
If I looked at the whole all the time, I would lose sight of the focus I have to have on my day-to-day job and responsibility. I've got a responsibility to these kids and a responsibility to Georgia Tech to coach them individually and collectively. Right? Anything that happens as a whole, right, is going to be a byproduct of how we go about our day-to-day, what we do, right? The challenges we overcome, the adversity that we are able to push through. Failure makes all of us better, right? We've all had, I told you, I've had wrecks. We've all had wrecks, right? But we've got to stay focused on what's in front of us and our goals. That's what it is. They're in front of us. So the byproduct of those things, it's simply that, and it's great. Yeah, it's great for the university. It's great for the fan base, the alumni. All those things are outstanding, okay? Every time you win a football game, right, people think it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, that's my job, is to keep it the exact same. Not that it's small in any means at all, right? But the focus and the preparation and the concentration, the discipline we have to go out and play, the way we have to practice and prepare in order. Like I said, momentum's created by preparation. So all those things that happen, those are great. But those are just byproducts. Right? When we're getting ready to play a game, I mean, there's 120 young men in that locker room. There's 40, 50 support staff and coaches. Right? At that point, when it's ready to go out on that field, it's not about the fans, the media, the families, all that. It's about one thing. It's that family that's in that locker room that we're going out there together.
And not looking at the past to talk about it, but kind of as a way to see what you can get better at and what you improved on. What is one thing you say you learned about your team from Ireland?
Every game you set and reset what the standard is, all right, and then what your identity is. Okay, what did they do to establish that in game one? Okay, well, they played for 60 minutes. They overcame obstacles and adversity that happened in the game. Right? They trusted the plan, believed in the plan, and executed the plan. They didn't waver when it came to that. And they stuck together as a family. They're one offense, defense, special teams. It was one team. Those are the things that we did well. Okay. Now, what do we have to improve on? We have to do those better. Otherwise, you're getting worse. Right? You're not improving. So those are the things that's the standard. And I didn't do it. Those kids did it out there on the field. Right? They're the ones that now have to uphold that week in and week out.
You made a conscious effort to build depth up as one of the core principles of your program, having that. Is this a week where that will start to pay off a little bit for you? As you said, you are beaten up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was good today to be able to have guys out there that had been taking a lot of reps with the 2s and the 3s, right? And sometimes it's special teams reps, right? Sometimes they're taking a lot of reps on special teams, right? And those become game reps. Those help, But yeah, the depth is important, and we've got to continue to increase our depth. And you increase your depth by the acquisition of talent, okay? But then you truly increase your depth by developing those guys. And that's what we've done over the course of the last 8-9 months, and for a lot of those guys, and really the last 3 months for a lot of those guys. So we've got to be able to continue to develop those guys. When one person goes down, you don't want to feel like it's the end of the world. You want to truly have that mentality on the team that it's the next man up, and you're not going to miss a beat.
A couple weeks back, Chris Winkie had talked about Haynes' ability to understand when to force it, when to scale back. Obviously, interceptions were a little bit of an issue for him last year in that game. Took care of the ball. Where have you seen him in that maturation, understanding when to make the right play?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk for 2 hours about that. But I think the answer to that really is in what we've already talked about learning from the past, right? Not living in the past, but learning from the past. Being able to look yourself in the mirror, right? To be honest with yourself is the hardest person in the world to be honest with, right? And he's understood that. He knows that. He's and the maturity that he has shown and the development that he's shown from the beginning of the year, in the last year, really until now, it shows up when it needs to.
Without getting into specifics, your recruiting has been on the uptick, and especially in the state of Georgia. Are you starting to feel more momentum there, and in terms of kids even reaching out after this game, and just the momentum you guys are building in that front?
Yeah, I mean, we hope to have a packed section on Saturday of recruits from the state of Georgia, from the local area, from the state of Georgia, and from the surrounding areas. So, we want to recruit the absolute best players to be able to come and help us win football games and to graduate from Georgia Tech, represent our place the way it should be.
Chad?
Just touching on Georgia State, similar to Florida State, a lot of new pieces, new coaches. How do you go about game planning for those guys?
Yeah, so it's kind of neat. Like, it's like 2 game ones for us, which is I've never been a part of. So really, it's no different than it was in the first week. You don't know what they're going to come out with. You don't know what type of thing. I mean, you think, but you don't know. I mean, so it's about us being able to play the best football we can play, all right? Not overcomplicating things, all right? Being able to be simple with what we do, but appear to be complicated with what we do, right? And then our ability to make adjustments. I mean, the best answer for that is look between the first series and the second series on the defensive side of the football. Cool, calm, collected, came off the field. There was no, yelling at each other, no fussing. I mean, that shows the confidence and the trust they have in Tyler. I mean, Tooch is upstairs, and those guys came to the bench. Coaches got in front of them. All right, next play, and that's what they did. And that's how you have to be in games where there are unknowns and uncertainties. You have to take the unknowns and the uncertainties, all that gray that people want to talk about, right? And you have to define it. And that's how do you define it? Well, you define it in the improvement in your own team.
Anything else? Okay. Coach, thank you.
All right, go Jackets. Appreciate y'all.
Okay, how come when your phone's on silent, an alarm can still go off?
You go to settings, haptic.